Good afternoon, YouTube. This is Chuck, and it's Sunday, October 20th, 2024, middle of the afternoon, and I'm here at my house, and as you can see behind me, I've got the old fire truck here, and let me tell you a little bit what happened. I went to the Aero Fair yesterday, and spent all day up there, showed off the truck to an awful lot of people, and got so busy I never even shot any video of that. And so if you're interested in what that event looks like, a year ago I shot a video on it. This time the weather was real bad. Today it's actually pretty, but yesterday the weather was kind of iffy, and I think that kept some of the aircraft away, and I think that probably kept some of the spectators away as well, because we didn't have as near as big a crowd as we've had the previous year. But we were busy nonetheless, and it wasn't a real good day for videoing, so I didn't video anything. But basically on the way home, taking the truck back to its little building over there at the museum, it started making a real bad grinding sound, and coming from the drivetrain somewhere. It's not motor related, and I'm not quite sure what it is. So being that my house is kind of on the way between the airport and the museum, I just went ahead and ducked in here and left the truck here so I could get a chance to take a look at it. I kind of got a suspicion what it is, and but let me tell you what I'm going to do to try to troubleshoot it. And what I'm going to do is, you can see I got a piece of cardboard out there already, but I'm going to jack that up and put it on jack stands so that the rear wheels are hanging free, so I can start it up and I can let the wheels turn, and that'll tell me what's going on in the drivetrain. Now there's a number of different things it could be, and like I say, I have my suspicions, but I'm not really 100% sure what it is. So as soon as I find something out, I'll come back and I'll let you know what it is. Anyway, right there, I always lay on the cardboard to try to keep my shirt from getting too dirty. Okay, there I've used my 12-ton bottle jack and lifted that back end up and set it on jack stands. So now those tires will move freely. So now the next thing to do is go start it up and put it in gear and see if we can figure out where that noise is coming from. So far, so good. So let's go on up here. Get up here in the truck, turn the batteries on, give it some choke. That noise you're going to hear is the electric fuel pump. Give it a couple of pumps, and there we're running. Starts good. You know, it was pretty cold last night. Push the choke back in a little bit. Let it run just a tiny bit. Okay, now so far so good. It's not making that sound. So let's go to second gear. Okay, that's second gear. We're still not making that sound. This is an old square gear 4-speed. You have to double clutch it to shift it. Put the choke in there. Now let's go over to third gear. But I don't know that that's our noise. Let's try high gear. Alright, you can feel the truck bouncing. That's okay. I'm gonna put the brakes on. Go over in reverse to see what happens here. Kind of odd. This reverse, by the way, has got a little mechanical lockout here. To put it in reverse, you gotta, I'll show you how to do it here. If you bring it over and bring it down like this, that's actually second gear. First gear is up here, and of course that's a granny gear. But if you want to put it in reverse, you got to come to neutral. You got to pull this little tab up, and then that allows you to drop it over. and then you bring it back, and now that's reversed. Well, that's perplexing now. That makes me wonder. Put that here in second gear. I'll run a little bit in second gear. Clutch in and give it a little bit of throttle. It's still not totally warmed up yet, so it's running a little. By the way, in this view you can see where my accelerator pedal is down here. You see that little round pedal right there. I have a lot of fun when I'm showing this truck off because I ask people if they know what that is, what that's for, and a lot of people have no idea what that's for. But it's kind of interesting. All the old cars used to have it. Let me show you right quick. Turn the ignition off. Okay, now I'm going to turn the ignition back on. That's the starter. You push that little pedal in, and that's what kicks the starter over into the ring gear on the flywheel in order to make it start. And if you notice, it starts real good and runs real good. The problem I'm having with it has nothing to do with the motor. You can hear the motor sounds just fine. And it has something to do with that. Now it makes me wonder. Back in reverse. Feel anything odd. That was reversed. Go up here into third. I'm not feeling anything unusual on the holding on to the stick. No vibration or anything. Usually the one that makes the most noise is usually second gear. Or actually, third gear makes a pretty good whine too. Yeah, third gear is the one that makes most of the whine. Doesn't sound like it's making any undue racket, or makes me wonder if maybe something else. By the way, on these old spare grip transmissions, if you're not used to running one of those, when you shift it, you got to double clutch it. Now, what's double clutch mean? Double clutch means that you have it in a gear. Let me see if I can show you here. You have it in a gear. In this case, we're in second gear. Remember, first gear is granny, so normally you start off in second gear. And then when you shift it, you push the clutch in, put the transmission over here in neutral, go over to your other gear where you want to go, let the clutch out briefly, put it back in again, then you can shift. Now, if you don't do that every day, sometimes I'm a little rusty at it. And so when I drive this thing, if I haven't driven it a while, it takes me a couple tries to get it right. But see, now we're running in holding on to put my hand on the shift tower down here, and I'm not feeling any kind of grinding or any kind of undue noise, so I'm not quite sure what this is. So I'm gonna shut you down for I'm gonna shut you down for a little bit, and I gotta do some other stuff here because I'm not sure what I'm finding here. So as soon as I find out something to tell you, I'll get back with you. But right now, it's running along there, the wheels are turning, it's in third gear, and I'm not feeling anything I'm not supposed to be feeling. So that's a good thing, but it's also perplexing. I'll be back with you when I got something to tell you. Here you're looking at those wheels turning from the outside. Look underneath there, you can see the drive shaft spinning. There's no unusual noises. Put my hand on those where those bearings are there, and I don't feel any roughness in the bearing. I'll go over and look at the other side. The other side, same way. It's a little wetter, like it might have been leaking a little bit, but you don't hear anything. You hear no undue noises of any kind. That other side's spinning a little faster than this side, but that's just the way the spider gears work. So don't have any idea what this is so far. Still got to look around some more. A little more diagnosis. Back soon. The next step, and it's a little more difficult to film, is get underneath there and make sure there's enough grease in the transmission or gear oil in the transmission. The way you check that is this little plug right there. I already loosened it up, and I checked it not too long ago and it was fine, so I didn't think that was part of the issue. I'm going to take that thing out of there and set it right there. And the way you check it, it's hard to film under here, is you put your finger up inside there and you try to see if there's gear oil. Well, you can see my finger, there's gear oil. Now it's kind of an odd color and it almost looks like it's got water in it, and there's no reason in the world why this have water in it. It sits inside most of the time. But it's kind of almost like a little, almost looks foamy. And I got a paper towel here to wipe my finger off, but the key thing is there's enough in there. It's full. So even though there's evidence, like there's a little drop on the bottom of the drain plug here, you can see that, but there's plenty in there, so that shouldn't be my issue. But while I'm under here, let me put that plug back in. It's kind of interesting trying to do this because it's, when you look through the camera, it's slightly different than what you actually see when you look directly at it. And you're also just about a half a second behind what's going on. So you put the plug in there, and then normally everybody just uses a crescent wrench. And you just snug it up just a little bit. You know what I wanted to do, let me take that back out of there for a second, because one of the things I want to do is I'm going to make sure there's see if there's any metal particles in there. I'm trying to film this and I'm trying to show you what I'm doing and go into the camera and do all this kind of stuff. And take that back out there for a second, and I brought a magnet down here, so I'm going to set that back down there, and I'm going to stick this magnet up in that hole, and I just wandered around a little bit there and see if I pull out any chunks of anything. There you can see that foamy looking stuff. That really shouldn't look that way. That should look a little bit cleaner than that. But the key thing is if you look at the end there, we don't see any chunks of gear or anything like that. And if there's anything bad in that transmission, you'd see those chunks of gear. There'd be little I don't know why I keep saying medical. There'll be little metal particles stuck to that. And you see there aren't any. So that tells me that, I don't know why that seems like it's got moisture in there. There's absolutely no reason for that. But it tells me that there's no broken pieces of gear or anything floating around in there, at least nothing I could reach with the magnet. So I'm going to set that back down. And while I got you here, I'll tell you kind of a funny little story. Let me put that plug back in. Let me snug it back up again. And, this truck is told you many times, this is a 1943 truck, so it's 81 years old. And it's been here in town since 1946, so it's been here in town for 78 years. And naturally, when you get a truck that's old, you know, things are going to happen to it. And, okay, that's snugged up. Things are going to happen to anything that old. And one of the things that happened is this battery box kind of gave up. And it caused issues obviously with the battery not staying in place. The battery on these, this is actually under the floor in the right side of the cab. That's where we're laying. We're laying underneath there. And right there, that's that electric fuel pump that was making all that racket. The gas tank is actually under the seat. There's the hose that comes out of the gas tank, goes into the electric fuel pump, and then goes on up to the motor. But anyway, this we had an issue with this battery box, and we wanted to put a little bit bigger battery in it. And if you notice, it's a golf cart, deep cycle golf cart battery. It's 6 volt. And so that's the kind of battery we use for that. Well, it was a little bit taller, and it wouldn't fit in there. So back when we had the fab shop set up in the fire station, I had the guys fab up this aluminum diamond plate box here for that. It's a little bit deeper than the original one was, so it allowed us to put that bigger battery in there. Before that, we were having kind of issues trying to keep the battery up in this thing, but after we did that, and it gained us just a little more space right in here, and we built a different cover. This is a cover over top of the battery that goes off in the floorboard in there. But anyway, we figured that out and fixed that, and it's been that way ever since. But it makes it a little tight to get into that drain plug. But one of the things they want on these old 6 volt systems is you got to be real close to the starter. And so the power cable, that's the positive from the battery cable right there, it goes up to the starter. It's not very long, and this braided one's actually the ground. And it's not very long either, because the lower the voltage, the bigger the wires have to be in order to carry enough amperage to do the job. So anyway, I think we don't have any chunks of metal in that, so that kind of rules that out. Even though I probably need to change that gear oil, that stuff needs to have something different in it. I have no idea how that water could have got in there. This truck hasn't been in. It's been inside the building most of the time, but. Anyway, I'll be back with you when I got something more to tell you. We looked and listened down here under the hood while it's running. You can see the fans turning over there, and generators down there, it's working. Nothing making any noises that it shouldn't make. It didn't seem to be motor related. It seemed to have something to do with the drivetrain, or when the thing was moving. So I guess the next thing to do would be to jack the wheels up one at a time, the front wheels, and spin them and see if it's a wheel bearing or something. So far, it's got me kind of perplexed, so we'll be back when I got something to tell you. You see that thing sounds just like a sewing machine in there running, doesn't it? That little silver thing right in the middle, by the way, is a fuel pressure regulator. I had to put that on there because that new fuel pump put on a little bit too much pressure and caused the carburetor to flood. Back in a little bit. Well, folks, I found my problem. I've jacked the front wheels up one at a time. I jacked that one up there, and it spins okay. I jacked this one up, and I can't even move it with one hand, I don't think. Yeah, see, it's bound up, and if I get both hands on it, and I can't do that and hold the camera, if I get both hands on it, I can move it, but there's a grinding sound coming from inside the brake drum right there. So next thing to do will be to pull that wheel off and get in there and see what the problem is. But in the meantime, I think I figured it out. When it originally made that noise, I felt that I thought it was a left front corner, but the brakes all worked and everything, so I figured out can't be anything in there. But there's something going on inside that brake drum. And the only way to figure it out is to pull it apart. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably go ahead and run it down my driveway. And so I got a flat surface workout in front of the garage. I have to move some cars around to do that. But that's going to be the next step. So I'll be back with you again. And that culprit is something right inside there going on. When I get both hands on that tire, I can turn it, but it makes a grinding sound. It should spin real freely, and it doesn't. So we'll be back with you again here as soon as we find something to show you. Well, it's the next day, and we're back out here working on the old truck. I kind of ran out of daylight last night. And there's Flapjack. Hey, Flapjack, can you say hi to your friends? Say hi to your fans. I was pretty relieved yesterday when I found out that it wasn't anything in the transmission or something. So I didn't. He's a camera hog, you know. He can get in the way. Hey, Flapper, move. Anyway, I was pretty relieved yesterday when I found out it wasn't something in the transmission. So I decided to bring it down here and just park it for the rest of the day and come back out here and work on it today. And today it's bright blue sky and about 75 degrees. And of course, the sun's in the wrong angle right now to try to do any filming. But what I'm going to do right now is, you can see I got my jack and everything over there. I'm going to get ready to jack this thing up and pull that wheel off. And I'm going to see what's inside there. And what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to set you up on the tripod so that when I pull it apart, you can see it at the same time I do. So I'll be back with you again here in a little bit. Okay, I got the tire off and got you set up here on the tripod. And the tire's right over there. There's the dog in the way again. He thinks he's helping, but he's really not. So I got this set up over here, and one of the advantages of bringing it down here in the driveway where I brought it is the air hose reaches out here so I can use air tools. That makes it a lot easier when it comes to taking the tire off. Thing's still a big thing to wrestle with, even though it's not really a very big tire. But anyway, let's see if we can pop this thing off of here. I got my mechanics gloves on, so try to keep my hands from getting too messed up. And let's just leave you run here for a little bit, and let's see what we can come up with. You notice on the newer vehicles, they don't screw those on anymore. They have them put on with they just push into place. These things are a lot more substantial. A few years ago, I took this over to one of the local shops and I had them check the brakes and I had them pack the wheel bearings and all that kind of stuff. And the wheel bearings look good. Still looks like there's all kinds of grease in them. Try to keep myself out of the picture here enough so that you can see what's going on. Got new cutter keys, so I'm not worried about tearing this one up. There we go. Pretty darn tight. That shouldn't be that tight. think I'm going to have to get a bigger pair of pliers here. Something here that'll speak with a little more authority. Another example, another good thing about being down here is I'm close to my toolbox. Well, I don't know. That thing's going to fight me. Let me turn you off for a little bit. That way you don't hear me cussing at it. Okay, we're back. That wasn't too bad. Just had to use a little bit of redneck engineering here to be able to get the proper pry on that. See a lot of nasty old wheel bearing grease in there. Pull this piece of cardboard over here so I can lay stuff on it. Try not to get grease on my concrete driveway if I can help it. Doing it this way to try to keep from getting grease on my gloves. I'll clean everything up and put it back together a little different. But like I told you, I'm going to let you guys see what I see the minute I see it. Okay, so now that should pop right out of there, but as you can see, it doesn't want to do it. It doesn't surprise me because whatever's jammed in there is jammed in there pretty good. I'm going to go grab a couple of paper towels here. That part's loose, that's not holding anything up. What's going on is we're jammed up in here. That's the whole problem that causes this grief to begin with. Now, let me get a little persuader. We refer to this in the trade as a BFH, and that stands for Big Fancy Hammer. A big something else hammer, depending on your mood at the time. Okay, we're making a little bit of progress. Whatever's jammed up in there, it's jammed up in there pretty good. I don't want to pry too much on that backing plate because I don't want to bend it. It's coming. It's just coming a little slow. There's that washer. It's really not holding anything up. That won't even move. I guess the best thing to do is just keep doing what we're doing. And there's the outer part of that bearing. It looks like that bearing might be bad. I don't think that's our problem, but I can see that we're liable to have a bunch of balls flying out of here pretty quick. Wind blew my paper towel away. Let me go grab it before it gets into something. Which I try not to. Every once in a while I get a little bit of grease or something on here, and when I track it into the house, that doesn't make me very popular with the other part of the family. That thing don't want to come. That thing should just slide right off of there, but because of being jammed up inside there, it just does not want to cooperate with the program. Usually what you can do is get back in behind there and back that adjustment off. And I might have to try to do that. It's coming, but boy, it's coming slow. Okay, I'm going to have to get around behind there and see if I can figure out how to back that off. So be patient with me. That's part of the problem with live video. That's probably our culprit right there. I dug it out from the back. You see that's broken spring. If that broken spring is as old as the rest of the truck is, which it probably is, that's probably what caused my problem. And it just sort of fell out of the gap here. So we're still trying to figure out how to get this out. This screwdriver is too long. So I got to go get another one. Another trip to the toolbox. I already got a little bit of grease on the concrete here, so I better bring myself out some more cardboard. Let's do it this way. Certainly don't need to lose any husband points. It's right there. There's a slot back there and a little star wheel. The issue is I don't know which way to turn it. Okay, time to go back to the toolbox again. Need a light this time. Hey, this light is one of the yellow tools, the DeWalt tools that my nephew sent me. If I shine right down in there, I should be able to see what I'm doing. Okay, that was kind of a long segment, and I had to move it back and forth a little bit to get it broke loose to where I could move it. But I think I've got, looks like we're going to have it here this time. There it is. Okay, this thing's kind of heavy. Alright, folks, that's what happened. That spring that I showed you came loose and allowed the two brake shoes to come loose. And they fell back out there and they jammed up against that brake drum. Now let's turn that thing over and let's see what kind of shape that's in if it got ruined. Here's the rest of that spring. I'm going to touch that with my greasy hands. I think that brake drum's savable. It doesn't look too bad. give you a look at it here. That's what it looks like. That's what the problem is. So now my job is going to be to figure out how to order the right parts so I can put it all back together. I might even be able to, it's not as dirty in there as I thought it was going to be, and I might even be able to save the brake shoes. They almost look like they might have been changed here a few years ago when I had the mechanic go through this thing. But it's pretty much, once I couldn't turn that wheel, that was pretty much what I expected I was going to find. So what I'm going to do is, let me come back around here where I can talk to you. There, I have no idea what the light's doing there, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to close this one out because it's going to take me a while to order those parts and get them in. I'm not sure what I need yet. I'm not sure how hard it's going to be to get them. So right now I'm going to tell you to take care of each other and love each other, and I'll come back to you again with another video when it comes time to put this back together and let you know how everything turns out. But for right now, I think I'm just going to tell you, give you one more look at this mess. And this, here, back it up a little bit, we can get a better look at it. And for right now, I'll just tell you, peace out.